F-Zero 99, but I haven't played the first 98 games. F-Zero 99, released on Nintendo Switch Online, is another title that takes an older property and gives it a modern battle royale spin. However, unlike games like Tetris 99, where worse gameplay by the player is punished decisively and precisely, F-Zero 99 takes the Mario Kart style approach of giving players who play worse advantages, while not extending those same benefits to those who are playing well. Rewarding subpar gameplay is textbook unfairness, but F-Zero 99 uses it in the game's favor. The developers clearly didn't intend for the title to be some hyper-competitive thing that you'll see in esports competitions. No, the goal of the game is to be as fun as possible, and it achieves this extremely well. Whenever two vehicles collide, super sparks drop for players to pick up. Once you collect enough of them, you can leap off the course onto the Skyway, which fast tracks you up ahead, letting you avoid any obstacles and offering generous boosts along the way. Because the super sparks are created by colliding cars, that means that only players that are behind these cars are able to pick them up. So the further back you are, the more of an advantage you have. It's blatantly unfair, that's true, but this unfairness benefits the game heavily. It keeps all players closer together, cranking the dial up on chaos and competition. A game like F-Zero 99 works because of the player interaction. There aren't items like Mario Kart where one player can hit another with a red shell from half a track away. No, any player-to-player action has to be much more direct. The only way to really impact someone else on the track is colliding right into them. Rewarding players in the back like this does a great job of evening everything out, and makes the game as a whole much more approachable. Even if you're towards the back of the pack, often you can see the person who's in first place marked clearly up ahead of you, usually not too far away. This makes victory seem much more achievable. And being approachable is incredibly important for a game of this type. An online-only game needs a healthy player base in order to survive, and only catering to the hardcore, highly skilled F-Zero players probably wouldn't bode well for long-term sustainability. Thankfully, F-Zero 99 has a low skill floor, but a high skill ceiling, which enables it to appeal to both types of audiences. The tracks are very simple, and I'm not just talking about the graphics. Players new to the game don't have to worry about secret paths or hidden items. They just have to steer as best they can. That's why it's important to give a healthy dose of bonuses to the less skilled players, and the Skyway is the perfect solution here. Jumping up onto it and passing those below you feels fantastic and makes you want to laugh like a cartoon villain, going, ha 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 ha, look at all those peasants down there. But just because the game gives an unfair advantage to worse players doesn't mean that skills don't matter, not at all. You certainly aren't going to win any games without playing well, and there's a lot that goes into playing well. On the surface level, a major factor here is steering. You want to keep on the course without bumping into the walls or going through rough patches. In this way, F-Zero 99 is the same as pretty much every other racing game. But there's a lot more going on under the hood that makes it much deeper than its peers. Because not only is F-Zero 99 a game about accurate steering, it's also a game about resource management. When racing, you're able to press the A button to give yourself a boost, but the fuel you use to boost is also your health. That means while you might find yourself in a situation where a boost would be helpful, sometimes you can't afford it because it very easily could cost you your life, which means getting blown out of the race completely. Sometimes you'll get a little too trigger happy with it and find yourself in a position where you think, oh Jesus, I can't afford to boost at all. It's a risky balance that you have to take part in. Ideally, you don't want anything left in the tank when you cross the finish line, because that means you didn't take advantage of everything you were given and potentially could have placed better. But getting that close to death can create a lot of tension, which is exactly what the game designers want you to feel. I've had times where I've been approaching the end and I use my last bit of boost to pass a few opponents at the last second. And I've had times where I've attempted the same thing but end up getting blown up inches from the finish line. And even though one outcome is more favorable than the other, both are equally thrilling. I know I'm taking a gamble by using a boost at the last possible second, and the risk of it either working out or not makes the entire experience positively exhilarating. And even though players towards the front might not be using the skyway as much as the players in the back, that doesn't mean they're not benefiting from it in some way. Because the players in the back are constantly being accelerated to the front, that puts more pressure on the beginning of the pack to perform well. In too many other racing games, if the player in first place can get out ahead enough, they can just cruise along with no interruptions for the rest of the race. This problem is not present at all in F-Zero 99. Any moments of success can be fleeting if you aren't playing at the highest performance level possible. With the success of the title, I'd be tempted to say that it proves that any type of game can work as a battle royale. But F-Zero 99 is not a battle royale. Not really. You don't have players being eliminated one by one until it's the last man standing. Yes, racers do get blown up and cut out of the race, but at the end of the last lap, the vast majority are still alive. Sure, there's one winner, but there's one winner in every racing game. Does that mean that every racing game is a battle royale? Now, this is just an observation, not a criticism, because I don't think the developers of F-Zero 99 were setting out to make an exclusively King of the Hill type experience that you see in games like Fortnite or even Tetris 99. I think the goal was just to create a game that's as fun and exciting as possible, and they've absolutely nailed it. With F-Zero 99, Nintendo might not have created the completely new title that longtime fans of the series were hoping for, but I'd say what they did create was far more important: more F-Zero fans. The game is phenomenal by all accounts, and it seems to have really resonated with new players. It feels a little bit ironic that at its core, it's an enhanced version of a Super Nintendo game that was already available on Switch Online. It just shows how timeless good gameplay can be, as long as it's packaged correctly. And in this new legion of F-Zero fans, I'm proud to count myself alongside them. I had played the original title and GX for a few minutes each, but I was never invested enough to give them my full attention. But now, I get it. I get the appeal of F-Zero. I get why it's such a heavily requested series year after year. And if a new title can take the base that F-Zero 99 has laid out and build upon it, I think the franchise could have a very bright future.